Hey there, everybody. It's Carol Milletta from the Parenting 411, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. I just wanted to hop on with you for a few minutes because this is our usual night to get together for news you can use. But as I shared with you yesterday, I won't be able to be on at our usual time, 8 p.m., because I'm still participating in the virtual book launch for You Are Enough. So I spoke last night, but I just feel that I want to continue supporting my co-authors who have all been coming out every night to support the rest of us. So I want to support this last group. As you know, I'm just so excited about it. It's a very powerful book. We were #1 bestsellers in 3 categories, including personal transformation and all of that. And also we became international bestsellers as well in the category of personal transformation. So it really is catching on. People are really fired up about it. Before I came on here, I happened to check my bank account and I see a few people have ordered the book. So I'm so very excited about that. Can't wait to get it into your hands. Thank you so much. And so if anybody's interested in ordering, just visit carolmilletta.com. You can hit the shop button and it's listed there along with the other books. But believe it or not, that's not even what I want to talk to you about tonight. It's loosely related to what we talk about in You Are Enough, which is really about reminding you that you have something special in you that the world is counting on. Everybody was created with a purpose, and that is something that we should try to instill as parents in our children as well. And so, and sometimes getting to that something takes us on different paths that, we really wouldn't expect. And so, I had an experience like that today, as a matter of fact. I had to head out to the airport for to take care of some business. And without thinking, I just I went online, looked at where I could take care of the particular situation, and it gave me numerous terminals that I could go to. And so I just picked the first one at the top of the list. I mean, how often do we do that, right? When we have a list of options, we just pick the first one. And so I did that, and not even realizing that the particular terminal that I selected to go to was one that I hadn't hadn't visited at our airport in almost about 25 years, back when I used to travel fairly regularly, several times a month for work. And so that particular terminal, had pretty much been at different points in time over the years had been shut down. Really looked old and stodgy compared to the new, contemporary, modern, renovated portions of our airport here in Washington, D.C. And so anyway, I started walking in and I said, wow, this really doesn't look like what I was expecting. Am I in the right place? This isn't where my family and I have been traveling. This isn't the terminal that we've been going through. And so then it suddenly hits me that, yeah, this is the old terminal. However, it's been modernized. It has been. It finally is catching up with the rest of the airport. And so as I was walking through, I, saw where they had lots of old photos and just artifacts from past times. And it was just really nice. It was just really refreshing. They had information there from the civil rights era and all of that. So it was really nice to walk through that portion of the airport, a part that I definitely don't see today because I never fly with on any of the airlines that are featured in that terminal. So anyway, so I get there to take care of my business, and there's a little hiccup. I have to I end up having to check in with customer service because there was an intermediate step that I had to take before the people there at the airport could help me. And so because I was in the part of the airport, the terminal that isn't as busy as the rest, the staff could really help me. They could really be patient. There was really no rush and all of that. So they were able to really help me. And then the person on the customer service line couldn't have been more helpful. And we got everything squared away. I wanted to get this done because I'm going to be traveling, soon. And so I didn't want to have to be rushing in with luggage and everything else and trying to make the flight on time and trying to deal with this too. And so I really, as I walked out, I reflected on just the positive experience that I had and how initially I was even tempted to leave that terminal and go to something more familiar because surely this was a mistake that I would go to this particular part of the airport. But as I was heading back to my car, I was reflecting on what a positive experience this had been and how productive it was. I was able to take care of my business. I mean, as a matter of fact, if I'd gone to the other terminal, I probably couldn't have gotten this done because it would have been a lot busier. They would have been dealing with passengers and they just would have told me to come back or go online or anything. So, it just made me think about the fact that, we shouldn't, and this is something I think we have to share with our children too. And I'll get to that. I'll get to that connection in a moment. But it just made me feel like that we shouldn't despair when we face setbacks because you never know what you can get out of the experience. There may be a reason. You may feel like you've been there before, just like I felt like I had been there in that terminal. I knew what they had to offer, and as far as I was concerned, it was not going to help me with what I needed to deal with today. But sometimes, you might have to go back to spaces where you've been before to prepare for where God is leading you now. So that's number one. And the second part of it is that what you remember about that previous experience may not be the same today. It may offer new solutions. It may offer new perspectives that you're going to need for where you're going down the road. The business I was able to take care of today is going to make my travels much smoother. And so, I had to go back, had to slow down and go back to a place that I thought would not be as productive for me, a place where I thought there wasn't much happening, right? It wasn't going to help me make the progress I needed. And so I think a lot of times our children feel that way too. They're just really eager to move ahead. They want experiences that are new and different. And when we try to tell them that sometimes you've got to learn the basics, you've got to do some basic things before you can move on to what you really want to do, they just aren't as receptive. But then very often, once they do that, they settle down and try to do it the way you suggest, leaning into your wisdom. They find out that, yes, they do discover new things about themselves. They discover value in slowing down and taking things and doing things in order. And so it got me to thinking about how a lot of students, particularly the older ones, are thinking about this time, with the pandemic. They know that probably in the fall, they're going to go back to school, whether they are in college or, K through 12 in school. And so they're sorting out what that's going to look like. Some of them are thinking about what they missed out on, still, and wondering how that's going to figure into their future. And so right now I want to focus on our young people that are in college or maybe even in high school, because that's when, a lot of times you look forward to summer jobs and internships and things like that, that are going to give you very good experience that you're going to be able to use later. It's also going to look good on your college application, or if you're already in college, it's going to look good when you go to apply for a job when you graduate from college and you want to get out into the real world. You want to have really good, impressive experience on your resume. And so, I can relate to that because I have two sons in college, as you know, and they were really lined up last summer. They really had, study abroad and internships and things like that of course changed based on the pandemic. And so They both ended up with different experiences than they thought they would have, but very, very useful. And I think that employers will look favorably on that. They will recognize that that pandemic leveled everybody out, and but they will be curious about how you responded to the situation, and that's why it's so valuable with our children to, even when they're young and still with us, when they make mistakes or when things don't turn out the way they expected, to teach them the self-control, the problem-solving skills, and just being able to step back and survey the situation that they are in and determine their best course of action. And, we're seeing very often, we've seen stories in the news about grown-ups, adults who are in situations in public places, and they're melting down because this something happened that they didn't expect, or they feel like they should be treated differently. And that's okay to stand up for yourself, but there's a time and place, and there is a way to do so respectfully and productively. And so while you still have that influence with your children, it's a great time to teach them that sometimes you have to make the best of the situation that you're in and extract the lessons. And I like to say extract the blessings as well from that situation. I mean, I'm reminded of a summer job experience that I had, and I wrote about this on the platform Thrive Global. I had just completed my first year in college, I believe it was, and I was really looking forward to having a real job. And back then, what a real job meant is 8 hours a day, and usually in an office, because that gave you a sense of being professional. And so for whatever reason, I didn't get that kind of a job that year. So I was able to get a job that I believe was maybe 6 hours or something like that. And I was working in one of the parks in the National Park Service system. And I was not working outside, which sounds like that would be fun, but I certainly enjoyed walking to my office every day, walking through the forest. And many of you who follow me already know I enjoy that. But I was working in the superintendent's office. And so just doing your usual office work, office assistant, secretarial kind of thing. And so, but I didn't know that the superintendent was watching me. And so one day when I was working, I was filing some things, and he said, you deserve a real job. And so I was like, okay. And so it turns out that his wife worked in the headquarters office of the regional office of the National Park Service. And he said, he told me which application to fill out. He said, I'm going to give it to her, and you're going to have a real job from now on. And so, true to his word, he gave my information to her. They called me in for an interview, and I got a real job, meaning an 8-hour-a-day job with benefits. And so I started working that job. And it was really challenging at first because it was a much bigger environment. I was providing support for a much larger team, and certainly just dealing with things that I had not seen before, like labor relations and all kinds of human resources work. And so what happened though is that, I just hustled. I learned the new technology. They were kind of getting into using word processing and all of that. I hadn't been familiar with that, but I had to learn that very quickly. And I made a lot of connections that way because a lot of people helped me to get oriented. And so what ended up happening though was I did good work, and the people there noticed. And so what happened is that I kept that job for all 4 years of college. And the interesting thing is that not only did I work there during the summer, I worked there anytime I was home. If I came home for Thanksgiving break, and that's probably 4 days, I could work. If I was home, if I were home, if I came home for one day, I could work. And so I worked that was great to have spending money for college. That was money I did not have to ask for from my parents. Um, and and at the same time, I also learned a lot about being professional, working with teams, and all of that kind of thing. I learned about supervisory relationships, engaging with people who were superior to me or higher at higher levels than me in the office or in the entire organization. And so all of those skills served me so well. And so that really leads me to the another point, and that is to not despise small beginnings. Like that original job that I had, the 4 or 6 hour job that I had, that could have been considered a small beginning. It wasn't where I wanted to be, but it didn't stop me from doing good work. And that's what we have to prepare our children to do. Like the pandemic was not ideal. Learning virtually and having to connect with their classmates on the virtual screen was not ideal, but it also was not an excuse to not try to do your best work. Like to do your best. I mean, I know it was tough, and some people struggled. I get that too, but it also just really taught them that sometimes things aren't going to be ideal, and you have to make the best of it. And so that's what I think a lot of people have learned during this time, not only our children, but also parents. You've certainly changed the way you've engaged with your children. You've had more time with them than you ever imagined. But hopefully you did a lot with that time. You saw the silver lining in the situation. So I have more that I'm going to do with that idea. I'll be announcing a project very soon, but I just wanted to hop on and honor my word, honor my commitment, because I normally connect with you on Thursday evenings. But I'm going to get ready to go so that I can head over to the You Are Enough virtual book launch. I hope that you will come over with me. I will share that to my page, both the Parenting 411 page as well as the private Parenting 411 community page, group page. And so join us over there and meet the final set of authors of You Are Enough. As I tell everybody, you're going to be so inspired, so encouraged, whatever journey you are on, professional, personal, or otherwise. I think that you will get a lot out of it. And, by all means, buy the book too, if you're interested. But I know that this will be a good hour of your time. And that's the beauty of it. It's only going to be an hour of your time. Dr. Cheryl Wood, who is the co-partner overseeing this along with the dynamic Les Brown, she holds to that 1 hour. So she keeps things moving, keeps things interesting. So I hope you will head on over there. So again, this is Carol Maletta from the Parenting 411, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Learn more about what I'm doing at www.carolmaletta.com. That's www.carolmaletta.com. And please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as YouTube at the Parenting 411. You have a good evening.